Good morning. It's Saturday morning. I know the bathroom is being occupied. All of the bathrooms are being occupied. So I have not yet spruced up, and I just thought, forget it. They're all in the bathrooms. I'm going to do my thing. Forget it. This is not the corner of the internet about beauty. I've been feeling this a lot lately. It's such a divot where I had that skin cancer, probably because I'm going in for a skin cancer check this week. Can you see this? I find myself like messing with this a lot. It feels itchy. Then yesterday it felt like there was a spot over here, but I don't think there really is one. And my dad has had a lot of the skin cancer, so I don't go for like every 3 to 6 month checks, but once a year or so, I think it's a good idea. And I think it's been 2 years since I've had one. So doing that. We are starting spring break. We had a very long week of book fair at school. I'm a volunteer and substitute librarian at our school district. Every time before break or at the end of the quarter, they do a thing where we get 2 full days, then 3 days that are half days. I can't imagine for people who are working, both parents are working, how annoying that is. Because it's annoying as a parent who's not. Because those last 3 half days, they've already had to turn in their grades on one of those full days. So they're kind of pointless. The last day is just like videos and candy. There's far too much candy that gets given out at school nowadays to motivate children. They're in school. They need to know that this is their responsibility and they have to do it. Like without treats. I think for all the adults who complain about kids, I think bottom line is we got to own up to some of the why in there. We got to own up to that. We had some cows end up on our property, and then the cowboys from the ranch who own the cows, they're young guys, and they come over on horses. It's on the community part of the page. Go check out the picture. I have a 8-second video I recorded of them. I don't have their express permission to post it, and I forgot to get it because we ran into them again on Friday. But if I get it, I'll post it. They are so nice. These young guys in their mid-20s are so nice and respectful. And just like them. So the van we got rain. Can you tell it's rainy here in Arizona today? Can you see anything out that window? No, you can't. And I posted some pictures of when the clouds were just right on us at 5,000 feet. It's pretty cool. So check out that community page part. It's really lovely. I try to post stuff over there that I think people will enjoy. I know people enjoy the videos of the cats and the dog, but coming from Minnesota, you think you move to the desert and it's just going to be this flat, brown, hot thing, and it is. But we have more difference in temperatures now than we did 25 years ago. We have more of a winter now than we had 25 years ago. When we have rain and moisture, it's just different and fun. Like it can be raining here, but 2 miles down the road, it's not raining. Or a mile down the road, it's not raining. Or across the street, it might not be raining. It's just interesting. I find it fascinating. The van didn't start. It's probably just a cam sensor. That's what our reader said. But cars don't deal with moisture well in Arizona. They get so used to the dry that I think the moisture can be problematic. So yes, the van is in again. But we dealt with it right away. Instead of ruminating on it, we just dealt with it. We got it done. We dealt with it. It will make some of our endeavors this week a little bit different, but who cares? we've got the van. We're going to take Prue into Tucson tomorrow, probably drop her with my parents and get their vehicle to take my dad grocery shopping because the van is raised, or the truck is raised, so it's harder for him to get in and out. God forbid he fall and break a hip. And that really did happen to my ex-mother-in-law. Getting into a raised truck, she fell and broke her hip and had to have surgery. Well, we don't want that. So it's been a week. We're starting spring break, and I'm starting it with slightly better attitude than I think I have in past. Probably because we've been having a lot of homeschool conversations and looking at things that may be happening to the schools and the lack of funding and funding cuts and stuff. I don't know. I know that there's some challenge to it, but I'm feeling better and better about it. I don't want to give up the thing that I'm doing, that I enjoy doing, but as a parent, I got to do the thing that's right for my child, for her to get the best experience out of the deal. And I know academically she'll get a better experience if we homeschool her. And we use a program through Liberty University. Yes, it's a Christian university. There is a Bible component to it, but it is college prep. There's no testing that they have to go through. We're in school. They are constantly being prepped for testing. The whole thing is constantly prepping them for testing, not... And in that, they meet educational milestones, but I think that there's not enough repetition in school. I think kids need to handwrite things more because kids have such bad handwriting nowadays. Whether you do cursive or printing, it doesn't matter, but you have to write stuff. You have to be able to fill out a form as an adult and have penmanship that's legible. I think repetition isn't something that's taught enough in schools. That repetition is how we retain information, that repetition is how we get to a goal. You've often heard me say on here that it is through small repeated steps that we get somewhere. And that can be a very hard thing as an adult because you have to turn down your desires to be repetitious and get somewhere. Because right now today, I do not desire going for a walk, but I have to stay on my walk schedule. I'm also going to start initiating an exercise schedule in the house so my daughter understands what that's going to be like. I can't walk right now. I'm much better if I get up and I go for my walk and I don't even think about it. But because it was so damp this morning, because we did have rain, the dog would have gotten cold and really damp, and it wouldn't have been the right thing to do for the dog. So I'm waiting because it's not going to be hot today. We're only expected to get to like 53. Some websites say 59, but I doubt that because tomorrow's high is only 63. But it's going to be cool here and windy, which it's been excessively windy. We've often talked about screening in the back porch as a large catio and letting the cats just go in and out there and not letting them outside. But the winds are so bad here, I don't think it'll last. And I'm not spending thousands on something that I'm going to have to completely replace in 3 or 4 years. We no longer buy the plastic outdoor furniture because 3 years, you're lucky to get through 3 years unless you're taking it inside into a temperature controlled, out of the sun, out of the wind, with some humidity environment. Because the dryness here also pulls out of everything that sits outside or in an environment that's not temperature controlled and humidity controlled, and things die faster. So that's been frustrating. Part of why we deal with such heavy and high winds is because we are at 5,000 feet. We are in these little foothills. And it can take a while to reshift your understanding something, your mental capacity for something, your head and your heart, when they are aligned. I mean, you're a rock star. You got it all together, but keeping them that way is very difficult. I find it much easier now that I'm postmenopausal. And I am grateful that my daughter is entering into that stage of her life as I'm outing that stage of my life, because it's giving me a perspective and an understanding that I can relate to her and the men around her in hopes that she has a much better life than I did. I remember being told in my 20s from my first husband, suck it up. You've got to act like it's not happening, and there can't be any change in your general demeanor because it's just ridiculous. This is something that goes on every month, and I'm not dealing with you being crazy every month. I wasn't crazy. But some months I would get migraines. Some months my energy would just drop through the floor. And he was like, well, that's not acceptable. What? Then you go live through it and see if you can function at a baseline. Like, okay, you be a baseline. That is not the body and the thing that I was put into. I was put into this thing that goes like this all the time, so that at certain points I can do it more slowly to build a life. And that's just how women are. I'm not saying I'm great for it. It's just what I am, because that's what I am. And it really broke me. And I didn't know how to stand up for myself. Still to this day, I find it difficult in relationship, especially with men my age and older, for them to understand and have some compassion for what we go through. And I hope that we are not, as a society, losing that compassion that has been built up between the sexes. Because I know there's a group of people who say, oh, that never happened. No, it did happen. I believe there was a day and a time where there is a group of people that built up much more of an understanding. I mean, I don't think that men have it easy by far. I think men have it very hard. I think men are raised, generally speaking, to not show their emotions, to not understand how to communicate about their emotions. Women in relationship with men push them to go places that they're not comfortable. Here's the thing. I'm not happy about that. But I accept it in you, and I move on, but we can still be working by little parts to get closer together. And if you have acceptance of me and I have acceptance of you, where you're at, maybe we're getting closer. And for me, it's very difficult because as a housebound blind person that became blind in my 30s, who can't just drive, doesn't live in a community where I can just Uber to something, doesn't have the financial means to just spend all this money to accommodate, I need you to meet more of my needs. And if your man attitude is, I have no needs, don't meet anything for me, well, then we don't have a relationship, because a relationship is a back and forth thing. And so I'm really hoping that if all things move forward as I expect, that we can model better for our children something that they should strive for. You know, our kids, when mom and dad are sitting at the table talking, our kids don't interrupt. When we're just sitting in the living room, both doing our own thing and chatting, the kids will interrupt. But they know when mom and dad are sitting at the table talking about stuff, leave them alone, give them their space and their time. And I think that's good. I want my children to understand through modeling certain aspects of a healthier relationship that they should strive for, whatever their dynamic may be. You need to be able to communicate, and kids are not equal to adults, and adults have a different set of priorities and responsibilities, and the kids are learning to respect the fact that, like it or not, we are their first line of defense in the world and for the world, and being pushed out into the world. I think it's great that my kids are so far apart in age, because the younger one can see the older one starting off in that life. The middle one has seen the oldest one, who's 30 now, go through a lot of his trials and tribulations in his 20s to figure out his life. And I don't think you always get that when you're really close in age. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for a lot of things. And I think if we can continually have that mindset, then we are just lucky. I am grateful to talk to you every week and have this little corner of the internet. I don't do a ton over on Patreon, but I do have a Patreon. You can follow for free. You can support the channel over there. You can buy a Reiki snack over there. I do Reiki. You can repetitively listen to the same Reiki and it have differing effects, because Reiki always does for your best, highest good. It is just if you've ever gone and gotten a massage and you have somebody that has Reiki or is just better in tune to the energies of the people around, you walk out there feeling like, oh, I came in here, and through this physical and energetic process, I'm leaving somewhere more balanced. Reiki is that without the massage. It's just the intention, and I do believe that it crosses the internet, time, space. I do believe it. I do believe whenever we think positively about another human being, whether it's in prayer or just in thought, I do believe they get something from that. I do believe we are all energetically connected. I believe we're energetically connected to the earth and the trees and all living things. I do believe in all of that. Call me crazy, but that's what I believe. And yes, I think you give even more if you'll send that text to a person and say, hey, I was thinking about you. Hope you're having a great day. And gosh, don't we get uncomfortable doing that? Because boy, don't you feel a little vulnerable when you even think about doing that for somebody that you haven't talked to in a really long time? Because you're not offering them anything about meeting for lunch or whatever. I know I have a girlfriend that, because of my driving, we don't see each other very often, once a year maybe, once every 2 years. And our texting goes in big waves because I think of that, because you get this, oh, I feel vulnerable. But here's the deal. I am making a goal to feel more vulnerable in my life, because when I feel more vulnerable, I know I'm putting myself out there to be closer in connection to the next guy. All right, I have rambled on for far too long. Let's get to some knitting and crochet. So we have these. Remember these two sweaters? And you see the drapiness of this one? I was looking back. I don't have a lot of pictures, but because this was knit flat, where I knit one row and then backwards knit the next, and it was in acrylic, I know that the gauge is softer and lighter. Different than the gauge of this one, because this is knit in the round. Okay, look at this. All I have to do is this cuff, and this is done. And then I am going to, and once it's done, I'm going to measure the gauge, and I'm going to measure it out, and then I'm going to acrylic doesn't wet block the same way that wool does. A lot of people say that for acrylic color work, your best bet is to steam it. I totally agree. But if I'm going to wear this, I'm going to throw it in the wash and throw it in the dryer. Now, to block it, I'm going to get it completely wet. I'm going to throw it in the dryer, and I'm going to let it almost completely dry. And then I'm going to pull it out, shape it the way I want, and I'm going to lay it flat to dry the last little bit. And I'm going to see what that does to the composition and the gauge of it, because, oh God, here we go. I'll just show you. I have not done this yet. This is my first go around of trying it on. Ooh. So, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's definitely shorter than I wanted. I've got more yarn, so I can make it longer. It feels tighter than I wanted. But this feels about like I expected, except it definitely feels tighter here. And I'm not sure that blocking it is going to give it the looseness that I want. I didn't want it totally big and baggy, but I wanted it. I mean, it's nice to occasionally see myself and see that I still have a bit of a figure, but it's a bit of a figure now. I got to do some more stuff to help with this, but part of that is stage in life. Now, see how this was done on 4.5, I believe, millimeter needles, and this is 6.5, and I just continued my ribbing here with the 6.5 and continued it here, because I noticed with the other one, when I went back to the 4.5, that it was slightly tighter than I was wanting it to be here, just slightly. And it definitely pulled in more here than I wanted it to be. I believe that if I re-knit this with the larger needle, at least on the bottom of these, that it would pull, it would lay more evenly like this when I'm wearing it, because it definitely pulled in here. So I might do that. I might. And I might pull this out and give myself a couple more inches. I don't know. It all depends. I have to get it done. I have to block it before I can decide. And this has taken me years to figure out as a knitter. Is at what point do you trash a thing, and at what point do you realize, oh, I can redo that, but I have to get this information. Because I like the color. I think it's a good color on me. It's an odd color, but I think it's a good color on me. I'm not upset about the fit through here. It's a little bit tighter than I wanted. This seems tighter than I want. I don't know why it's a little bit bunchier. I don't know, will it make any difference if I change direction? I don't tend to knit with short rows. A lot of people knit short rows on the backs of their sweaters. I don't tend to do that. So it's a little bit better when I wear it like this. So for whatever reason, that side bunched a little bit more, or it could just be because it's a little bit more stretched out. So here's the thing, on an equal front and back sweater, I will wear it a couple times before I put a tag in on which side I like is the back. See, and I like a tighter neckline because my old lady's skin gets very blotchy and red patchy. So this is where we're at. This is where we're at. Chilly, chilly. I think when I came in here to do this, it was like 50 degrees. But yeah. Somebody said to me, aren't you afraid with all your yarn sitting out? The yarn that I have sitting out is acrylic. Bugs will get into acrylic, and I get a lot of moths in this room. They will get into the acrylic, but they don't usually eat it. Or cause holes in it. And then I only have a couple of balls of actual wool over there. Otherwise, my wool is all in closed plastic tubs or bags. I'm not buying yarns this year of any kind. Gifts are great, sure, I'll take the gifts. But I'm just trying to use what I have and move forward. So I am going to start this square project with this. And I had somebody say that is just a weird combination. Yes, it is, but it's the combination I have, and I think it's gonna work. I need to make one more square, and I believe I'm going to make it out of a navy blue because that's what I have a little bit of. So that's my goal today, is to give that a start. I'm going to make the other square. I'm going to weave in all the ends. I'm really finding that when I do these projects, weaving in all the ends before I start that final connection rows, and then as I go weaving those ends in, really makes a difference. It makes it move much faster. I did send off the baby blanket to my friend in Wisconsin. I didn't hear anything back, but you know, they have a 1-month-old, so I'm not expecting to. And they may not love the colors or whatever, but they'll learn eventually that it's nice to have a little extra thing, or they'll donate it, and so be it. My daughter has got 3 or 4 sweaters in her closet that she never wears that I've made for her over the years. I'm taking them out of her closet because I don't think they fit her really anymore, and I'm just putting them away in a box. And someday she will have a box of sweaters and mittens and hats and scarves and socks that Mom made her when she was little. And whether or not she gives them to her children or donates them, I don't care. But she will have a moment of, see, my mom thought about me. My mom did a thing. And you think more about this stuff when you have your children at 43. And, you know, you've got cousins who lost their parents in their 40s, both of them, because both of their parents were in their 60s. They were like 67 and 68, I think. They had a much bigger gap in age, but I think they were 67 and 68 when they died. If I die at 67, my daughter will be 24. Is that right? Because I'll be 61 when she graduates at 18. So add 6 years, that's 24. My son will be 31. I don't think I will. I have pretty good health. I've got pretty good longevity genes in my family. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but good God, you never know. So I want to do everything I can to help them out. On that cheerful note, look with your heart first, not your eyes. Know the person that's cutting your hair. 'Cause when I do it, it's okay. But every time I kind of let it go and see it in its raw form, I think, this is not good cutting. This is not good cutting. What was that about? The stuff she did back in the back was actually better. So, whatevs. Whatevs. I don't know. It's life. It's another week. See you next week.